This is the summer quilt that I have designed, and the block we're doing today is that one. That one there is block 1, and you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 of them. So we're now going to make that. We've got this in the entrance to my studio. God, it's a really pretty little quilt. This is my little studio here. Automatic lights, unfortunately. Oh. So this is us. Hello. Oh! Gonna pick up my little quilt. And we are gonna go into the studio. Oh. If you're all here watching, thank you very much. I always lock the door when I'm here on my own. You never quite know. So this is the quilt. It is made, ready to go. I am... Oh, excusey. Give me 3 seconds. I'm going to just plug you in. Sorry. So professional. Right, we are here. Hello. Welcome. We are going to be making block 1. So all of this will be available on Natasha Makes at 10 o'clock on Monday. These are available on my website at the moment. www.beginnerquilt.com. There's half of it there, beginnerquilt.com. And this is, I'm very proud of this. This is the collection I've done with Aurifil. It is a series of beautiful, beautiful threads. And there are 10 of these beautiful threads. And they are meant to be, I can't find my open one. So, come on. These are the threads there. You can see the gorgeous colorways. You've got various variegations. So I'll be showing you all that on Natasha Makes on Monday. And with the collection, it's £42.50, including your postage. Oh, come on. Can't get it back in. Pity I'm outside. I could have had you big on the telly. Hello, Jan. Jan Hill is here. Hello. So you're going to get those 10 threads and then this 1300 meter spool of threads that go with it. That is the thread box that goes with that quilt. There it is there. Now, anybody who's done FPP with me before, you know I have loads of Ziploc bags of different blues and greens and all the different colors that I use. I always keep them in Ziploc bags, so you'll see me referring back to them quite a lot at the minute. And then this is the pattern that we're going to be getting. And then you've got your fabric requirements. And then this is the block that we're making today. And this is the block that we're about to make. So the first thing, and you're going to turn to the last page, and the last page will tell you what color each block piece needs to be in there. So you get a pencil and you start writing them in. I always write one first and then double check that I'm right by making the block. And once I've done that, then I am happy to continue. Because the number of times you make this and you potentially have it the wrong way round, and it's always best to get it right the first time. Forgive me, I am just writing these all in now. Light green. So the last 4 corners, that's light green, that's light green, that's light green, that's light green, that's cream, that's cream, that's cream, that's cream. This is blue, and then these are the light purple. The same feel as the big ones. Yes, indeed they are. They are the small, it's 50 weight Aurifil cotton. So it's got the same feel all the way along. I've not seen a difference in the feeling between the big and the small spools there, Jan. Sorry about that. Now, the first thing you're going to do, if like me, you have put all your fabric in a little bag, and they're all going to be a little bit like you're going to give it a nice good press. Now, when I do this process, you'll see I've got my little ironing board here. So I always press everything. Try not to use steam if you can, especially when you're doing FPP, because if you're doing FPP and you've got steam, it will cause problems with your paper. Now you'll see I have got steam on this. My iron broke, so I'm stuck with a backup iron. And rather than be a man and go and actually buy the iron that I like and buy it again, I'd rather moan about it for years and years and years on end. So I'm in the process of getting a new iron sorted. But get everything pressed as nicely as you can. Now, in my pattern, I'm suggesting using a blue like this, but what I'm actually going to do, because there's such small sections in this little flower, I'm actually going to use this blue. We don't need a lot of blue in this piece. You only need 4 squares. I'm actually going to use this blue because you can see it's got a bit of a... Let me press that. No one can see what you're talking about with that. Just going to cut off a little bit of this. Because the great thing with this is there is a fabric kit that Natasha's going to be selling. But if you don't like that and you want to use it as your scraps, you totally can. Because a lot of these flowers, you don't need a lot of piecing for it. So I'm going to be using the slightly mottled blue. And you can see all the blue is going in the blue bag. So you can see the blue's got a slight mottle to it, and I just thought that was quite interesting. It's a nice little view. I'm going to give it a go, see what happens. And the good thing is it's only a small block. It's 5 inches. So if it doesn't work out quite as well, then it's only a small block. You've not wasted loads of fabric on it. You've given it a go. Do it as a mug rug or something like that. That piece is a bit small for what I'm doing today, so that's going back in the little baggie. I tell you, these little baggies come in really handy. And then I've got my light green. Oh, I've just accidentally hurled my thread box across the room there. Sorry about that. Right, so you can see my greens now, oh, relatively flat. Right, just going to trim off some of this green. Now, because I am doing the show on Natasha, sorry, my big machine is already in the car. So unfortunately, I am using older thread, different thread, not using my Aurifil. So please don't hold that against me. Do use Aurifil. I just, unfortunately, having left the stuff in my home, it's a bit too far away to go and get. And I'm trying to save the stock because the kits are quite expensive for people to buy rather than using it up as demos. So anybody who's done FPP with me before, you'll be able to see some of the other videos. What you're wanting to do is to, this is the piece that is the wrong side, sorry, this is the right side here of your page, because you can see where you're going. This is the wrong side of your page. This is the wrong side of your fabric because this blue is going into that block there. So you always have the wrong side to the wrong side, and the right side and the right side are always out. And I just realized I've got green thread in here. And cream thread is what I need. So I'm gonna use my cream orifle thread instead of the beautiful colors that I've got. So I'm going to do a cream bobbin and a cream top. It's always the way, you forget to thread your machine as you go along. But it's a sweet little block, this. It's really a nice little floral block. And the great thing is if you have got purple fabric to go on here, which has got some movement in it as well, it's really fun. Right, I think that's going to be enough for my purposes today. Right, let's try that again. So A1 is blue and A2 over there is my cream. So I'm going to have the wrong side of my blue going to the wrong side of my paper. And then I've got the right side of my cream going to the right side of my blue. And I'm going to stitch along that line to make sure it works. And there we go. Make sure that you reduce your stitch length. I take mine to about 1.7, 1.8. You take it to the stitch length you think is right. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I know that that is more fabric than I need. So I'm going to just cut off this excess bit of fabric here. Don't need more than that. So all I've done now is I've stitched along that line, which is between A1 and A2. I've stitched along that line. Then I'm going to fold this all down. Fold this all down. And get all the threads. So everything that I'm everything I'm going to put underneath my ruler is what I'm going to keep. Everything I'm getting rid of is on this side. So I trim off everything I'm getting rid of there. Okay, and at that point now, I just go and press this with an iron. Press that back. And that's what we're looking for. So you've now pressed that open. That's number 1 and number 2. Next is number 3 over here, which is a cream one. So what I do is I fold this. Excuse me. I fold that back to check that I've got enough cream over here. There we go. So my A3, so the right side of my cream there goes onto the right side of my fabric there. And then I fold on the stitch line and I can see between there and there, that's more than enough space for me to stitch that along. So you can see I've now stitched that along there. I'm then folding everything that I want to keep down and everything I want to get rid of, including these long threads over here. I'm putting that on this side. I'm going to put my ruler over here and I'm then going to trim off the excess over here because I won't be needing that little bit there. And again, I now just go and press this back. So there we go. 1, 2, and now number 3. Now we go to look for number 4, which is a light purple over here. I have just realised I haven't given myself a light purple. Annoying. Now watch these not be big enough. Always the way. Told you I've always got scraps of these. That should be all right. And that one. Right, so excuse the little baggie. I tell you, they come in very, very handy. So A4 is this line over here. That's my A4 there. So I'm going to fold on this line between A4 and A2. Sorry, between A4 and A3. And I know that that's going to be where I'm stitching. I'm going to take this, and remember, right side of your fabric to the right side of your fabric there. You put it along the stitch line and you fold back to check you have enough fabric. And I do. Okay, so we've stitched that in. We now need to cut everything on this side of your seam line. So everything you want to keep is going underneath your seam line, including your threads. Take those to the top. You put that down. Take your ruler. Everything you want to get rid of is above there. Now that piece I think is big enough to use again, so I keep that. These pieces I think are a little bit small, so those go into my little charity box down the bottom over there. Fold this open again. Fold this back open, and I just give that a little press. Okay, so that was my number 4 line. And then number 5 is this cream one over here. So again, just like before, you're going to fold on the stitch line between number 4 and number 5. You fold along that line. And you're going to find a piece of fabric that's going to fit that little section there. This one will, but it's got a little crease in it, so I'm just going to get rid of the crease. And you put that along the stitch line, and you check it's going to fit. And I think that will fit nicely there. And you can see that that's stitched on now. So everything under the stitch line we're going to keep, everything above it we're going to get rid of. And what I always do is I pull these threads up because it just saves you cutting a few extra threads as you go along. Take your ruler, you find your 1/4 inch line, you line your 1/4 inch line up here against your seam line, and you trim off all the rest of that excess. Okay, and then you fold that back and check that it is now covering the entire area you need it to cover. And so far, so good. So that was number 5. Number 6 is now this light green section up here. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to take it and fold on the line where you're going to be stitching. Fold that along there, and I need a piece of green that's going to cover that area. Now I've cut myself a nice big piece of green here. I'm going to just cut off a little piece of this. I'm going to cut it bigger than I need, because then I'll have leftover pieces that I can use for the rest of this project. So I put that in there, and I can see that that definitely covers the sides where I need to stitch. I've got my seam allowance covered there, and if I put that in, that'll easily fit there. So again, I now go and I just sew between the number 3. So the last number here is number 5, so it's 3, 4, and 5 onto number 6. So again, everything you want to get rid of, you fold back, and you just trim off everything that isn't needed. I think that little bit of cream will be available for another project. These ones I think are a bit small, so they're off to the charity basket. So there we have our first little green section there. I'm going to go and press that back and then trim off the excess because I don't need that much fabric around the block as I sew. So I'm just going to roughly trim off the green that I've got left over. And again over here, the green I've got left over. Not cutting into my paper at all, just making sure that the extra green bits that I've got there aren't in my way. So we have done number 1, number 2, hang on, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and now number 6. Now we're looking to do number 7, and number 7's coming along here with our purple section. So you fold along the line for the purple. You take your little piece of fabric, you pop it there, and you check if you've got enough to stitch it on. And the way I had it there, it didn't. So I fold that back. As you get more experienced with this, you'll fold it back and you'll be able to see this is the area it's got to be. So you just then get a little bit more accurate in getting it down. I think that's in the right position there. I'm going to take it back a little bit this way. I think that bit needs to come there. There we go. I'm now going to stitch down the A7 stitch line. Right. So I've done my seam line there. Everything above that seam line, I'm going to get rid of. Always try and make sure that with the fabric you're cutting is nice and flat on the table. The last thing you want is it getting caught up and curled, and you cut a piece of fabric that's short. There we go. That piece we definitely will use again, as will we this piece. These little pieces are a bit thin for my liking, so off to the charity shop it goes. Now I then fold this back and press it and check that it's worked. And then once you've pressed it back, you hold it up to the light to check that you're right. And luckily, I am. So now that's number 7 that we've done there. Number 8 that we're going to do now is a light green section over here. So that was number 7. We're now doing number 8. You fold on the line you're going to be stitching on for A8. This is a little piece of fabric that I cut off just now. And, ooh, I think that is gonna work. There we go. It doesn't always happen that it works. And with FPP, 9 times out of 10, if it goes wrong, it's because the piece that you've chosen to use is too small. So rather use a bigger piece of fabric than having to unpick. This is famous last words. As I do this, what's the bet? I'm going to have to unpick it. What's the bet? I think I might be safe. And I am! Yay! Right, number 9 is this little cream section over here. So I put that down. I fold on the A9 stitch line. And while I'm doing that, I check and see if I've got a piece of fabric that'll fit in there. And I definitely do. That's actually probably a little bit big, actually. Ooh, I'm pushing my luck with that one. What could possibly go wrong? Every time you use a piece that's too small, you have to unpick it. Don't risk it, John. Don't risk it. And I'm going to risk it. It's always the way. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. I apologize in advance if I cut this and I've got it wrong and I make horrible sweary noises. I apologize. Right, let's see what we've got here. Did it work? Did it work? Did it work? Please say yes. Oh, just worked. Oh, that's really good. That just worked there. Now we're going to do number A9, which is up here, this green section up here. So you fold, sorry, A10, I forgot we're on 10 now. Fold that up there. Put my green in there. And we're ready to sew on that line. Only one more to go and we finish this block. You're going to need to make 4 of these blocks for this quilt. And it works really quite simply, but it's in a very effective block. And a great way to use up some of your scrap fabric if you want to just have a small block to do it. It's a really lovely little pattern. Perfect. And then last but not least is the A11 line, which is this one over here. So you're going to fold that over there. Put down your piece of fabric and you're A for away. That is your last stitching in this block. There we go. The last cut. Well, the last cut of the actual piecing together bit. And then press that back. And once you've done this last line and you've pressed it back, just give the whole block a good press. You want everything nice and flat before you trim it down. At this point, we've got that there. Now we need to trim this down to look really lovely. Now on all of my designs, you'll see there's a dark line there, which is the line that you would sew the blocks together on. And you've got this line here, the outer line, that is your seam allowance. So what we're going to do now is we're going to trim a hair past the seam allowance. I'll show you now once I've cut this line. I'll show you what I mean. So you'll see the seam allowance is there and you've got a tiny little section of paper left on there. Just be consistent in all of your cutting all the way along, making sure that you've got the same gap all the way around your piece. It just makes your life a lot easier when you come to put these blocks together. The last thing you want is to ending up having, you know, block 1 and block 3 all being different distances away from the piece of paper. Because when you put it together, then all those gorgeous seams that you've created, they fall short, obviously, when you haven't got the blocks being the same. I'll show you what I mean. Hang on. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So at the moment, you can see I've got a consistent gap past all those seam allowances. But if, for example, this seam allowance, I actually had underneath the seam line, and then when I tried to put this together with another block, I'd lose the point over there. So I've got a few little straggly threads in here, which I just need to get rid of. There we go. A few little fluffy bits. But there we have block number 1. At this stage of the game, I go and I trim all these little threads off. I've got 3 more of these to make for the block. But that's it. Block 1 of my summer quilt. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just going to check the messages to see if I have missed anything. Hello, Lorraine. Hello, Anne Davies. Thank you all so much for being here. It's really nice to have you. And don't forget to watch on Monday, the 10th of January, Natasha's anniversary sale, 10 a.m, natashamakes.com. It'll be on her Facebook page as well. And I will share the link to my Facebook picture as well. Have a great one, all of you. Keep well. Bye-bye.